The year is 2025, and Sony's Marvel Universe is on life support. Their last few attempts, a vampire no one liked, a psychic who couldn't predict her own movie bombing, and now, a guy who hunts animals because his dad didn't hug him. Enter Kraven the Hunter. It's gritty, it's R-rated, it's got blood, lions, and a guy who apparently gains animal powers by drinking their blood. No joke, that's the actual plot. Sony's pitch? A grounded anti-hero story somewhere between Logan and Venom, only without the emotional depth, or Tom Hardy, or, Spider-Man. But hey, it's got Aaron Taylor-Johnson, shirtless, bleeding, growling. It's got Russell Crowe doing, something that sounds Eastern European. It's got a $110 million budget, and a trailer that ends with a guy's nose getting bitten off. What could possibly go wrong? This was supposed to be Sony's redemption arc, the film that proved their universe wasn't just a meme factory. They picked Kraven for a reason. In the comics, this guy goes full Shakespeare. Existential monologues, jungle hallucinations, a rifle in one hand, a lion's mane on his shoulders. The man literally buries Spider-Man alive. Iconic. So what does Sony do? They take that legacy, that depth, that tragedy, and toss it into the same cinematic blender they used for Morbius. The result? A movie so confused it made Catwoman look focused. The reviews are brutal. The box office? Even worse. $62 million worldwide. A 15% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. And a subreddit thread titled, Kraven vs. Madame Web, which one's a war crime? It bombs hard. And then something weird happens. The same movie that critics abandoned and fans ignored suddenly becomes #1 on Netflix. Out of nowhere, Kraven the Hunter starts trending. Again. But this time for a very different reason. And to understand how that happened, you have to rewind. Way back, before the memes, before the trailers, before the nose biting. Back to when Kraven the Hunter was just another desperate swing from a studio with no Spider-Man and nothing left to lose.
Absolutely nothing.
Flashback to 2017. Sony's cooking something. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is printing money. Spider-Man is finally back on track. Thanks to Marvel, not them, and Sony wants a slice of the pie. But there's a catch. They don't own Iron Man, they don't own the Avengers. They don't even own the word marvelous. What do they have? The weird stuff. The villains, the leftovers. So they decide, if we can't play in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we'll build our own. And from the shadows of their licensing deal, they start planning what would become known, unironically, as the Sony Spider-Man universe. Or as the internet lovingly calls it, the SSU. It starts with Venom, then Morbius, then whispers of solo films for Silver Sable, Nightwatch, even El Muerto. And somewhere in the middle of that brainstorm, one name stands out: Kraven. To the comic book crowd, he's legendary. A 1960s Spider-Man villain with a fur vest, a sniper rifle, and the ego of a Bond villain. He's obsessed with proving he's the greatest hunter alive by taking down Spider-Man with his bare hands. No gadgets, no webbing, just primal instinct and daddy issues. He's most famous for Kraven's Last Hunt, a dark psychological storyline where he defeats Spider-Man, buries him alive, wears his costume, and then the pitch basically writes itself. Sony announces Kraven the Hunter is in development. The fans, intrigued, cautiously, some ask if they'll adapt Last Hunt. Others just want him in a real Spider-Man movie. Most are worried they'll morb it up. Fast forward a few years. J.C. Chandor is tapped to direct. He's best known for Triple Frontier, a gritty military drama. Solid pick. The script gets a polish from the guys behind Iron Man and Uncharted. The vision? An R-rated, grounded, character-driven origin story. So far, so promising. And then casting begins. Aaron Taylor-Johnson, aka Quicksilver from the MCU, Kick-Ass from Kick-Ass, is announced as Kraven. People are confused, but hey, he's ripped. Russell Crowe signs on to play Kraven's father. Ariana DeBoise joins as Calypso. Some fans hoped Spider-Man would show up, even for just a few seconds. Rumors swirl about Chameleon. For a second, it almost feels like Sony might pull this off. A dark, stylish anti-hero movie. A character-driven hit. The start of a new era. The year is 2023, and the jungle is looking a little plastic. Sony finally drops the trailer for Kraven the Hunter, and it's not bad, it's just confusing. There's a lion, a blood transfusion, a nose getting bitten off, and Kraven, he's running barefoot through warehouses like he's doing CrossFit with Wolverine. The internet does what it does best. Screen grabs, reaction edits, side-by-side comparisons with Morbius and Blade Trinity. One headline reads, Sony's next R-rated gamble looks like a mid-2000s Xbox cutscene. Meanwhile, Aaron Taylor-Johnson does press. He says Kraven is an animal lover and a protector of the natural world. Wait, what? The man who in the comics once punched a gorilla in the face is now an eco-warrior? This isn't Kraven's last hunt. This is Kraven's last PR strategy. To be fair, this isn't entirely unexpected. Sony's been here before. They made Venom work by leaning into chaos. But then came Morbius, a film so mocked that it was released twice. A film whose legacy boils down to a meme. It's Morbin time. Then Madame Web, which for reasons unknown to modern science, featured dialogue like, he was in the Amazon with my mom when she was researching spiders right before she died.
He was in the Amazon with my mom when she was researching spiders right before she died.
So now comes Kraven. Sony is desperate. The Spider-Man IP is too valuable to leave idle, and Marvel's already tying up Peter Parker in their universe. So Sony has to go rogue. What they want is a dark anti-hero franchise. What they need is a hit. They lean in. R rating, not your typical comic book movie. Serious tone, a little blood in the teaser. Russell Crowe whisper growling in an Eastern European accent.
I am here to take him home.
But beneath the marketing flash, the seams start to show. There are reshoots, rumors of delays, whispers of script issues, and studio meddling. Some insiders say the original cut was even more violent, but Sony pulled back. And with a less crowded holiday season ahead, Deadpool and Wolverine arriving in July, Kung Fu Panda 4 already released in March, and Avatar Fire and Ash delayed to December 2025, Kraven is dropped into December 2024 like bait in a lion's den. Spoiler, the lion doesn't bite. December 2024, release weekend. The posters are everywhere. Aaron Taylor-Johnson stands in front of a burning jungle, shirtless, holding a spear. The tagline, nothing survives without a fight. The irony writes itself. Kraven the Hunter hits theaters with all the confidence of a billion-dollar franchise. R-rated, loud, bloody, conflicted, and within hours, the Rotten Tomatoes score is tanking like it took a tranquilizer dart to the chest. 15%. Not 50, not even 30. 15. Critics call it toothless, tonally confused, and Morbius but with fangs. One review says it feels like a rejected Call of Duty campaign with fur vests. Another calls it the best PlayStation 2 cutscene of 2006. And it's not just the critics. Audiences aren't showing up either. Opening weekend, $24 million domestic. Barely enough to pay Russell Crowe's coffee budget. International markets? Worse. In total, Kraven the Hunter made just $62 million worldwide on a budget of $110 million. And that's before marketing. Sony quietly cancels red carpet interviews. The official Twitter account goes dark. No one says the word sequel. And in Reddit threads and Discord servers, fans ask the inevitable. How did they keep messing this up? Why did they keep making villain solo movies without Spider-Man? At this point, just give the rights back to Marvel. And it's a fair question, because Kraven is everything wrong with the modern studio mindset. They took a cult favorite villain known for his psychological depth and turned him into a punchy jungle dude who drinks lion blood for power. This was supposed to be Sony's darker answer to Marvel's over-polished formula. But instead of prestige, they got memes. And Kraven the Hunter, like Morbius before it, fades from the box office with barely a whimper. It's dead. Or at least, it seems dead. Because just 3 months later, Kraven comes back. And this time, it's hunting something far more elusive than critical acclaim. A second chance. March 2025. Kraven the Hunter is trending again. No, not because of a sequel, not because of a director's cut, and definitely not because people suddenly appreciate its themes of environmental trauma and toxic masculinity. It's trending because it's #1 on Netflix. Just like that. A film that flopped in theaters harder than a CGI rhino is now one of the most watched movies in the country. Within 72 hours of release on the platform, Kraven clocked 7.1 million views, 15 million hours watched, and skyrockets to the top of the US Top 10 movie list, right next to Despicable Me 2 and some random documentary about jellyfish. And no one can explain why. There was no marketing push, no press tour, no surprise director's commentary where JC Chandor reveals the whole thing was secretly a metaphor for generational trauma. It just appears, like a jungle trap, and people click. At first it's ironic. Let's watch the lion blood guy. It can't be worse than Madame Web. TikTok is full of clips of Kraven flipping off rooftops and yelling in slow motion. One user edits Kraven over Planet Earth footage with David Attenborough narration. Then something weird happens. People sort of start enjoying it. Not as high cinema, not even as a good superhero movie, but as background noise, as algorithm content, something to half-watch between Uber Eats deliveries and existential crises. And once that many eyeballs hit the screen, the narrative shifts. Fast. New tweets show up. Okay, wait, it's kinda fun. Why was this better than half of Phase 5? Unironically want Aaron back as Kraven. And that's all it takes. In 2025, it's not the box office that decides whether something lives or dies. It's whether people click play when they're bored. And Kraven the Hunter, somehow, becomes a streaming sensation. A second life. A cleaner kill. And Sony, they smell blood in the water. They see the numbers, and they do what any studio would do in 2025. They pretend it was all part of the plan. Suddenly, execs are calling Kraven the Hunter a long-tail success. Industry trades start running headlines like, "From flop to favorite, how Kraven found his pack on Netflix." There's talk of streaming-first strategies and meeting audiences where they are, as if they didn't just lose tens of millions of dollars 3 months ago. Behind the scenes, someone at Sony greenlights a postmortem meeting that ends with a pitch. What if we skip theaters altogether next time? The logic? Simple. Theatrical bombs get headlines. Streaming hits get charts. No box office shame, no awkward opening weekends, just vibes. And so the studio that once dreamed of building the next Marvel Cinematic Universe now starts whispering about something a little different. Kraven spinoffs. Maybe a Calypso series, maybe a prequel about Sergei's childhood, maybe Kraven vs. Morbius, a movie so cursed it folds time itself. Aaron Taylor-Johnson doesn't say much, but there are murmurs that if they let him direct, he'll come back. Russell Crowe, probably still on vacation, says he'll do a voiceover in a heartbeat. And Sony, they doubled down, because they've seen what Netflix can do for damaged IP. They saw it with Manifest, With You, with The Office reruns that generated more hours watched than 10 seasons of Stranger Things. Now, Kraven the Hunter gets to join that strange Hall of Fame. Not because it's great, not because it deserves a sequel, but because people watched it. A lot. All at once. And that's all that matters. Streaming doesn't care about critics, it only cares about clicks. And if the jungle has taught Sony anything, it's this. You don't need to make good movies. You just need to make loud ones. So where does that leave us? A movie that flopped at the box office, got chewed up by critics, turned into meme fuel, and then somehow became a hit on Netflix. That's not a comeback, that's a content cycle. Because in 2025, Kraven the Hunter isn't a story about success or failure. It's a story about timing, streaming algorithms, and how low expectations can feel like a win. This isn't Kraven's last hunt, it's Kraven's accidental redemption arc. And maybe that's the real moral here. If you wait long enough, even the weirdest projects can find an audience. If you release a movie at just the right time, like say a slow week between Bridgerton seasons, you can go from 0 to trending in 48 hours. In another timeline, Kraven would have been a straight-to-DVD punchline. But today, it's proof that streaming isn't just the backup plan, it's the main event. Studios know it, audiences know it, and somewhere in a California boardroom, Sony knows it too. Which is why you shouldn't be surprised if Kraven 2 Bloodlines gets announced next year. Maybe it'll drop straight to Prime Video. Maybe Russell Crowe will return as a Force Ghost. Maybe there'll be a musical number. Because in 2025, it's not about telling good stories. It's about owning the scroll. And if Kraven the Hunter has taught us anything, it's that every flop is just one streaming deal away from being called a cult classic.